Reptiles are among the most fascinating creatures to have ever roamed our planet's lands and waters, showcasing to be some of the largest and most formidable predators in Earth's history. Two of the most iconic examples are the mighty Mosasaur, also known as the Muse lizard, and the fearsome Deinosuchus, also known as the terrible crocodile. Now, technically you can pronounce it Deinosuchus or Deinosuchus. Personally, I've always used Deinosuchus, so that's what I'm going to roll with in this video. When you first hear this matchup, you might think it's a one-sided battle, but trust me when I say this is anything but one-sided and very close. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll jump straight into this. Starting off with everybody's favourite Jurassic World star, Hoffman's Mosasaur. Mosasaur lived during the late Cretaceous period around 70 to 66 million years ago. It thrived in warm waters that covered much of the Earth during the Cretaceous. The world was in a state of flux, with shifting continents creating vast inland seas that provided the perfect hunting grounds for this predator. Now, Hoffman's Mosasaur was one of the largest of its family. There is a fair bit of contention and variation when it comes to its size, but the highest scaling comes in at around 14 meters or 45 feet with a weight of 15.7 tons. The issue with this measurement is that it's quite unreliable, with more reliable estimations placing its upper limits between 11 and 13 meters or 36 to 42 feet in length and a weight of 10.3 tons. When we take a look at its structure, we can instantly tell it's more alike to lizards such as the varanids rather than crocodilians and snakes. Despite its impressive size, it was still an extremely fast and agile predator. This was due to their method of movement, where the tail provided the required propulsion to move through the water. Mosasaurs had streamlined, elongated bodies that reduced water resistance, making them efficient and fast swimmers. Their shortened limbs with webbed paddles helped with propulsion and steering, allowing for quick turns and precise movements. It seems that this marine reptile topped out at around 48 kilometers per hour or 30 miles per hour. It was both a capable ambush and pursuit predator, meaning that its meal was secured one way or another. As for its weaponry, it relied on its massive jaws to do the work. But I mean, who knows? There may have been a Mosasaur out there that boxed up some sharks with its flippers. Unfortunately, there haven't been any studies which provide concrete detail on just how powerful its bite may have been. All that we know is that it was powerful enough to break through ammonite shells, which, to be fair, it isn't too much to go off. Though we can still make the estimation that due to its large size and skull, that it likely had a stronger bite force than most modern predators such as the saltwater crocodile. This Mosasaur had large robust teeth with finely serrated edges made for cutting through skin, with another set of teeth in its upper jaws to help prevent prey from escaping. This effective bite allowed it to capture a variety of prey, from slippery fish to hard-shelled turtles. Additionally, a relative known as Prognathodon, a similarly sized Mosasaur, had a minimum bite force of 11,000 newtons in order to get through ammonite shells, reinforcing that at a minimum, it would exceed that of the saltwater crocodile. But considering Mosasaurs are so much different to many of the animals we have today, it is difficult to gauge their intelligence, though it does seem that Hoffman's Mosasaur may not have been the most intelligent hunter. This comes from a 1995 study which discussed that despite this Mosasaur being twice the size of another relative, its brain case was twice as small. Also, due to a lack of development in the olfactory bulb, it would not have had an effective sense of smell. Instead, it seems it made up for this disadvantage by having keen vision. This is supported by the large eye orbitals that are found in their skulls. However, it does not seem like their binocular vision was a 10 out of 10 by any means. Now, at this point of prehistory, the Mosasaurs were the top dogs of the ocean, and their spread was legitimately everywhere. This of course meant that their main competition came in the form of other Mosasaurs. Many fossils show cuts and piercings of Mosasaur teeth, with some showing signs of healing, indicating that these fights were not always fatal. This in turn suggests that Mosasaurs were accustomed to face equally dangerous opponents as well as withstanding serious injuries. Aside from fighting and preying on other Mosasaurs, Hoffman's Mosasaur would have hunted a wide array of aquatic life. This would have mainly included marine turtles, which seems to have taken up a good portion of their diet. But you also can't forget there would have been sharks which approached the size of great white sharks, squids, as well as smaller fish, which showcases that it was more than capable of hunting smaller and more agile prey. But let us move on to our oversized totodile known as Deinosuchus hatchery. Well, technically you can argue it's Rio Grandensis, as some studies over the past few years suggest that due to hatchery's incompletion, it should not be a separate species. But enough with the formalities, back onto the debate. Deinosuchus lived during the late Cretaceous period approximately 82 to 73 million years ago. This was a time when North America was divided by the Western Interior Seaway, a vast inland sea that split the continent into two landmasses. Deinosuchus inhabited the freshwater rivers rivers, swamps, and even coastal areas. It was a top predator in these ecosystems and was capable of preying on just about anything that came too close. This was of course possible due to this gator's massive size. It seems like the average size of this giant would have been around 9 to 10 meters or 29 to 32 feet, with a weight of 6 to 9 tons. Of course though, we're using its higher estimates, which places its length between 12 to 14 meters or 39 to 45 feet, and a weight of 13 to 14 tons. Deinosuchus was robust, being heavily armored, featuring a muscular tail designed for a powerful output. Its body structure was similar to that of modern crocodilians, with reinforced bony osteoderms along its back providing protection and thus making it highly durable in both combat and predatory situations. What the Deinosuchus is lacking though is speed. Even though this area isn't overly studied, I think it's clear that this thing was no flash. Crocodilians are more so built for sudden ambush attacks rather than chases, so considering it is a far scaled up version of modern day crocodilians, I believe it would stick to the same niche of ambushing prey, and I mean, let's be honest, due to its very heavy weight and overall design, I cannot imagine it was strong suited for fast moving over long distances. Comparing both combatants side by side, and I think that the Mosasaur has the edge in this area. But surprise surprise, the giant gator's main weapon was its jaws. Unlike the poor old Mosasaur, Deinosuchus does have a fair number of estimations when it comes to its bite. In a 2012 study by Gregory Erickson et al., the team estimated that the Deinosuchus could bite down with a force of over 102,000 newtons. But there is a wrench into this, as this study is over 12 years old and the Deinosuchus utilized weighs around 3.4 tons. Since we're using our largest estimate, which is over 4 times the size of this, means that the bite force was likely significantly larger. On the plus side, there are some more recent studies which has it at the ballpark of 120,000 to 145,000 newtons. So yeah, blows the Mosasaur right out of the water. You also can't forget that unlike some other crocomorphs, looking at you Sarcosuchus, it could actually carry out the death roll. This is huge, as not only does it have the ability to crush its prey, but it also has the ability to dismember them. When it comes to intelligence and senses, we have the benefit of modern day very distant relatives. The brain case of Deinosuchus shows significant similarities to that of the American alligator, indicating that its brain structure and sensory capabilities were likely comparable. While there are some differences, such as the alligator having a more elongated supratemporal fenestrae and a gentler incline of the prefrontal ridge, these distinctions might suggest slight variations which, yeah, there will be variations with an animal that is over 70 million years apart, and I don't think it's too far of a reach to say that we can have it at around the same level as modern day crocodilians. But where Deinosuchus truly takes the cake, other than weaponry of course, it has to be what it had to deal with throughout its existence. As far as prey items go, well, it seems that they were like modern day crocodilians, with a good chunk of their diet including aquatic organisms such as sea turtles, sharks, and fish. However, this also extended to dinosaurs that may have approached too close to the water. This would have consisted mainly of your hadrosaurs, where one was even discovered to have a bite mark on its vertebrae similar in dimension to a Deinosuchus' tooth. It is also important to add that there is debate that Deinosuchus may have actually consumed dinosaurs more often than we may originally think, due to the fact that its stomach content would have certainly dissolved the bones. Meanwhile, turtle shells would be more resistant to this, and hence it makes sense that we would have more evidence of it consuming turtles. It also coexisted with some impressive predators. This includes a 1 to 2 ton tyrannosaur, which is known as Pterotophonius. Though there is a chance that it may have coexisted with some of the larger tyrannosaurids, such as Gorgosaurus and Daspletosaurus, both which could have reached 3 tons. I suggest this as all 3 of these carnivores lived in Montana during the same time period, so it is certainly possible that Deinosuchus may have crossed paths with these theropods on a few occasions. Admittedly, this could be a bit of a reach. Arguably the most important predator that Deinosuchus was contemporary with was the Mosasaur's relative, Tylosaurus. Now, we aren't quite sure if they had direct conflict with each other, as there is lacking evidence of Deinosuchus bite marks on Mosasaurids, but considering there are supported theories that Deinosuchus had the ability to travel through oceanic waters due to the fossils discovered at marine deposits, means that there is a good chance that there were at least a few encounters between these two. This would give a massive boost for the Deinosuchus, as it would be somewhat familiar with the Mosasaur's build and capabilities. And of course, when you take a look at modern day crocodilian behavior, hunting each other was certainly on the table, so interspecies conflict over territory, mating, and just because they felt like it, would have certainly also been on the table for Deinosuchus. But okay, we've completed the rundown on each opponent, who takes what in the categories. Well, Hoffman's Mosasaur takes length, speed, agility, stamina, bite speed, and IQ. Meanwhile, the Deinosuchus takes durability, endurance, bite force, bite effectiveness, battle IQ, senses, and experience. As for weight, well, technically it could go either way, it's just that we can more confidently have Deinosuchus being heavier. However, using fragmentary remains from mosasaurs and certain scaling can indeed tip the scale in its favour, only slightly though. But in this debate, we'll be placing a 13-ton Deinosuchus against a 10.3-ton mosasaur. This battle would take place by a beach, with Deinosuchus moving into the water and the mosasaur moving towards the oversized crocodile. They will meet each other head-on, with the water depth being 50 meters. So, let us go through this scenario. Given its lighter weight, the mosasaur would need to rely heavily on its superior speed, agility, and maneuverability. It also would likely attempt to circle the Deinosuchus, targeting its vulnerable areas such as limbs or underbelly. Quick bites would help the mosasaur deliver some damage and give it enough time to retreat outside of the Deinosuchus's reach. With its serrated teeth, it could certainly do some damage, considering it was able to get through turtle shells. However, the larger mass of the gator compared to these turtles would likely mean that the bites would not be as effective. Deinosuchus, on the other hand, would have to play more of a defensive role initially, using its thick armor to absorb the initial attacks. Once the mosasaur comes into range, the Deinosuchus would need to time its bite perfectly. Being that its bite force output was far beyond anything of the mosasaur, it means that it only needs 1 or 2, maybe 3 good bites for the count to start. If it manages to get a good clamp down on the mosasaur, I would argue the fight would end almost instantly. This would especially be the case if Deinosuchus bit down on the mosasaur's tail and or torso, as I imagine this croc would immediately go for the death row, which would critically incapacitate the mosasaur's maneuverability. And without its maneuverability, well, it'd certainly lose. I just think that its overall durability and bite force advantage is just too overwhelming. Even though the mosasaur would manage to score some pretty good hits, it just doesn't have the ability to end it before the Deinosuchus gets a bite in. I mean, if we just take a look at what modern day crocodilians deal with and survive, then unless there's a significant hole in the underbelly or some sort of damage occurs to the spine or brain, the Deinosuchus is not going to stay down. Modern day crocs can survive without their legs, portions of their tail, as well as part of their jaws. Though the mosasaurs are a marine reptile, it is not so easy to say they would be in good condition with the same injuries. Also, adding to the fact that Deinosuchus at some point would have to take on the tylosaur would give it a significant experience advantage. And to be honest, even if we use the absolute largest weights for both, giving the mosasaur a slight advantage, I still think that the result would be the same. This would be because we'd be putting a Deinosuchus at 14 tons against a mosasaur at 15 tons, meaning it would be a 1 ton difference. This could also have a negative effect on the mosasaur, as it would make it more bulky. Really, the only estimate I see that would have the mosasaur winning more times than not would be if we use the exaggerated 17 ton model against a 14 ton Deinosuchus. But no matter the scenario, it would not be an easy fight by any means. Both are highly relative when it comes to size, and the mosasaur would be fast and agile enough to dodge bites and deliver some of its own. However, I just think that this giant gator's win conditions exceeds that of the mosasaur in a face-to-face conflict. On the other hand, if it was a natural scenario where the mosasaur could surprise the Deinosuchus from below, then you'd probably have a different story. But from this analysis, I think that the winner of this debate would be Deinosuchus at a high difficulty. And yeah, I think it's easy to have underestimated the Deinosuchus as well as overestimated the Mosasaurus. This is mainly due to the mosasaur's appearances in the Jurassic World franchise, as well as being put up against the Megalodon. I think that this is a highly interesting debate, and you couldn't go wrong arguing for either side. Anyways though, we've reached the end of the video, and I hope you all enjoyed. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video. See ya.